Yeah, I think we're on.
So what are we doing?
Just having a quick chat and find out a
Okay.
bit more about you and what brought you to WordCamp. So thanks, folks. It's another live interview at WordCamp 2022. I've got Beth. So would you like to introduce yourself to the audience?
Okay. I didn't know this is what we were doing. I didn't know we were doing a live, but that's great. I am Beth Livingston with the WP Project Managers Academy, and I teach folks who build websites with WordPress how to get their projects completed on time, within budget, with the right features that meet the client's business requirements without sacrificing profit.
All right. So let's just really delve into that because it's a fascinating subject.
Well, here's the thing. There's a new WordPress agency spinning up every day, right? Especially during the pandemic, people are looking for stuff to do. And so they can learn how to use the tool. There's a million places to learn that. There's a million places to learn how to run an agency. Nobody is teaching these kids how to, I call them kids because I'm 100 years old, but how to get projects done on time, within budget. And these are old, proven project management techniques from when software development was kind of a new thing. And that was when I was a young chicken. So I learned all these things. I cut my teeth on these things. And my first couple of WordCamps, I'm like, people are struggling with stuff like scope creep and getting content from the client and, all of these things. And I know how to solve these problems. So that's when I said, you know what? I need to create a course. So I started creating an online course, but I thought I was Amy Porterfield. You know who she is?
Yes.
Yeah, she's the digital course queen, right? And so I was doing the launch the thing. You got 2 weeks and the doors closed and Then I attended the recurring revenue retreat and realized that this feast or famine thing sucks, right? Then you got to gear up and do another launch. But if it's a membership with a monthly subscription, it's not. And then when you're done with it, when you've learned all you can learn and you're not getting any more value, you can move on to something else and cancel your subscription. So the whole world is going to a subscription model anyway. So
seems to, doesn't it?
Yes.
So what would you, obviously it's a very big subject and a broad subject, but obviously we've got about 15 minutes to have a quick delve into this. But what do you think are a couple of the key things that you consistently see people doing wrong when it comes to client management?
Well, a client management specifically is just not spelling things out for the client on the front end, making certain assumptions that they understand things they don't understand. And it's not their fault that they don't know. That's the other thing, is always acting like the client's stupid because they don't know stuff. And that's not their fault. They don't do this every day. We do. And we have to remember that. So defining your processes and spelling them out to the client up front. Like everybody, it doesn't matter what the change control process is, but the fact that you have one and that you're sharing that with the client up front, embracing change, acknowledging that it's going to happen instead of running from it and acting like it's no big deal. That if there's change, that means somebody screwed up. No, it doesn't. It just means somebody forgot something, right? It's not, and we all try to run from change, but if you embrace change and you have a plan to manage it as you go forward so that you get paid for everything you do and you're still controlling the scope of the project, then it's magic.
Right.
I kind of went off topic of what you asked me, but I get passionate about this stuff.
Well, I do that all the time, Beth, so I'm not going to criticise you for that. So I think, and based on experience, one of the things that tends to regularly happen, and I'll be interested in your insight about how to handle it, is what I call client ghosting. That's when they stop replying to email, they don't take calls, and they disappear for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or they could disappear for a month or more. And then they come back and it's like they're not disappeared at all and they're in a rush to get something finished. I think a lot of people have that, I wouldn't say regularly, but more often than we like to think. So you got any insights about how that should be managed or tried? Because it's very frustrating when you do get ghosted.
Well, I'll tell you where I learned how to handle that is from Nathan Ingram. He's with iThings Training, and he has his own boutique agency in Birmingham, and he has a product called Monster Contracts. And I used to do my...
I've interviewed him. It's a great guy.
Yeah, it's a great product. And by having penalties as well as incentives, that's the part a lot of people forget, is the incentive part. They've got all these penalties laid out in their contract about what happens if you don't return the content, what happens if you disappear, blah, blah, blah. But they don't say, okay, now, if you meet all the dates in your contract, these are dates we agree on together at the beginning of the project, and if you meet all these dates and don't miss any, I'll give you an X number of discount, right? But I've added that discount into the quote to begin with. So it's not really any money off my back, but it's an incentive that I've worked into the program. And so incenting the client is a really good thing. And then having those statements in your contract that say, if this, then this. And it needs to be stuff where you can just let go and say, we're done, right? I think the way we have it in our contract now is that if you're gone for a certain amount of time, that project is canceled. If you want to start it back up, you will pay the entire rest of the balance.
Right, yeah. Another thing that came from Vito Paylog of Actorum, he kind of pointed out something to me, which he said with complicated projects, it's best to break them down into micro projects and get a quick victory. He said there's nothing that deflates a project or gets a client weary. Is a very long-winded project with a lot of discovery, with no victory in sight. And I think he's very right about that, isn't he?
He is, and I have to tell you that I partnered with Vito very early on when it was still WP Feedback back in the day, and he teaches a lesson inside my academy, and we were using WP Feedback for design feedback, but not for the whole thing. I was using Content Snare for content, but I saw I had Vito do a session with me recently to kind of get me up to speed with how Actorum has changed over the last ever so often. And honest to God, I think he might be developing the unicorn app that's going to solve the problems that everyone has, because it does follow a pure project management methodology, and it's waterfall, where you start with this increment, you get this approved, and then you build on top of that. So like you start with wireframes, and you build on top of that with the content specification, and you build on top of that with the technical requirements and the functional requirements. And by the end, you've got a full website specification. Right. And you may be able to use Actorum for all of that. We've only gone through half of it. We need to have another session. I love what he's doing. And breaking the job down is one of our principles. We teach 6 principles of productivity management, and one of them is breaking the job down. It seems really simple and, not rocket science, right? But what people do is they try to mix design and function together. Most people jump into developing the website too early.
Well, especially in my own particular area, because I have a Quasar hosting agency hybrid model, and we build complicated membership, learning management systems, community websites, and they normally got a very long list of requirements that tend to get longer in the discovery process. And I've learned it's best to get a minimum viable product quote on that, and I say, well, you want to get some actual students going through it before you make additional assumptions, because I'd rather that we get something done quick, reasonably quick, and up.
Exactly.
Rather than this drag on, because I find that it just leads to complaint and a lot of aggro.
And what happens with the new people is that they're having so much fun with the tool that they will jump in and start building the website with color and everything else without getting these smaller increments approved along the way. And if you get these smaller things approved along the way, then by the time you get to the end, the full approval doesn't take very long, because you got all the pieces done along the way. And then if you get to piece number 3, and then they go, oh my gosh, I forgot piece number 1, we need 2 more pages on that. You can say, okay, that's great. Now we need to do a change control for that, because that's an added requirement to an already approved deliverable. So, and if you lay all that out front, clients don't push back about it. They get it. We forgot about that. And it allows for human error. Like, I forgot to ask something, you forgot to tell me something, or we had a really good idea halfway through the project. That's okay too.
I think based on my experience, and I'll be interested in your insight on this, is that there's a balance with being domineering and pushy, but there's also a problem being a bit too laid back with clients, because if there's a vacuum, it's going to be filled, and you really don't want it filled with the client because they fundamentally link to what you said at the beginning of this interview. They really don't know what's going on, but if they sense a vacuum, they will attempt to fill it. And would you say I'm right about that?
Yes, and if your client doesn't understand something, that's your fault. That's what I tell people. If they don't understand the way things,
it's
they
brutal,
don't understand the way.
It is true.
Exactly, it's the harsh reality. But if they don't understand how things work, it's because you did not explain it to them properly. And if you explain all that stuff to them properly at the beginning, no condescension, no acting like you're smarter than they are. It's just, look, I'm going to show you. We know that these kinds of things already happen. We know that clients, when they're the ones assigned to do the content, tend to not get it done on time, which draws out the project. It's going to cost you more money. Don't you think it would be more cost effective for you to hire a copywriter to do this for you? Because look how many hours this is going to take you. That's the other thing they don't realize. They think I can write content, right? Because I wrote my term paper in high school. I could write content, right? But writing for the web is different. And then they're busy running their business. So if you try to teach them if you try to tell them they don't have the skill to do it, which is often the truth, but if you tell them that, they'll push back. But if you show them on a piece of paper, here's the rough order of magnitude of this content activity. This is how many man hours it's going to take. This is old project management 101 stuff. Do you have a resource that you can dedicate to this? 9 times out of 10, the answer is no, and they will acquiesce to getting a third party to do it, which then you have a little more control as a project manager over that person performing.
What's your insight about pricing? Because I think in any business, pricing is always a nightmare. I don't care if it's the most simplest widget, it can still become a nightmare quite rapidly. And with web development, web design, it truly is, and especially as the projects get more complicated, because the client, especially if they're talking to more than one agency, obviously they're interested in price. We all are, but they want you. See, apart from smaller projects where I basically ask almost all the money up front, I really ask for paid discovery. I do get a lot of kickback, but then I deal with that by saying, well, I can give you a price, but it's going to be from 10 to 50,000 or something.
Well, here's what we did.
Because I've got to cover this. I don't know the detail. So how can I give you a consistent quotation?
Well, here's how we handle that. We do that initial discovery, which shouldn't really take that long. We're not talking about the big discovery, okay? We're talking about enough to get the information that we need to provide an estimate, okay? We do a range estimate. And we say it's going to cost as little as this, or it could cost as much as this, right?
Yeah, that's what I do.
But this is only part one of the proposal process, because they've signed a contract that says if it falls within this range, we're moving on to phase 2, right? If it goes outside of this range, I give the client the opportunity to cancel, because we do that after we've done the deep dive discovery, which is phase 1. Okay, let me say this. At the beginning of phase 1, we get a deposit for all of phase 1. All of the discovery. So it is the same as a paid discovery. It's just not a separate contract. We're still under contract. We get to the end of phase 1. If it comes in over the original estimate, it's usually because we discovered new requirements along the way, and they've been shoulder to shoulder with you as you did that. They know why you're adding, why it went over, and they're usually okay with that. And then the other thing we do is we add a change budget, and we say, look, we take usually 20 to 30% of the total project budget, and we set that aside as invisible money. It's an invisible budget, but it's there for change, and you're agreeing to pay it if there's enough change that handles that. And then when there is a change request, which may come from you, the developer, it may come from the client, then the client reviews that and says, okay, it's going to cost this much, it's going to have this much impact to the timeline. We're not going to do that. We're going to save it for phase 2. Or, yes, we're going to do that, and I'm going to move that money out of the change budget and put it into the project budget. And then when you build for that, depends on the client. If somebody I've worked with before, I'll just add it to the end. But if it's somebody I haven't worked with before, oftentimes I'll just bill when they approve it.
All right, that's fair enough. Right, so how many WordCamps have you been to?
In 2019, I spoke at 9 WordCamps and attended 10. US was the only one I didn't speak at in 2019. So probably all total, maybe 15 altogether. Yeah, and I'm really excited to be here being amongst our people once again. And yeah, it's our people, because you talk to your friends about this stuff, their eyes glaze over, right? It's like geek speak for a whole weekend. It's fabulous. I love it.
So people outside the the more hardcore professional WordPress community, obviously there's trade shows, but WordCamps are a little bit different. What, for people that are thinking of going to a WordCamp, or maybe, obviously this has been slimmed down a bit because of COVID. It's normally a bigger event. There's more tickets available. A broader audience will attend it. But if next year, if somebody's thinking of coming to a regional WordCamp or WordCampUSA, what? Because I think culturally it's a bit different than, like I say, a trade show. How would you explain what it's a bit like?
Well, it's funny because I have a Facebook group for my academy, and this morning, and we have a Friday chat every morning. Well, I'm on the East Coast normally, so we did it at 8:00 a.m. here, which was 11 o'clock my regular time East Coast, and our topic was, why do I want to go to a conference full of competitors? I need to be getting business. I need to be out getting business. That's a waste of time, and it's not. And here's why: because if you come to a place like WordCamp and you've got sponsors out there, that's your hosting company, that's your premium plugin that you've bought. You're getting to talk to the people. You're getting to talk to the real people. You got questions, you got issues, you can address them here. You get connected with the right people that then when you have a problem later on and you have to escalate, you've got people to escalate it to. The other thing is, if you either provide white label services to other agencies or you use other agencies to do in a white label thing, this is where you meet them. This is where you find the good people. That's why I love it. In fact, Nathan Ingram and I spoke at a conference in North Carolina yesterday morning. We grabbed our box lunch at noon, got on a plane, and came here. And so that conference happened to be in my local geographic area, and I was able to reconnect with some people. I was able to connect with some new people that may be able to provide me white label services as I change the direction of my agency.
Well, so would you like to plug it? Because obviously I thought this was an opportunity for you to touch a few people, for us to have kill two birds with one stone, have a chat, but also give you some publicity.
I would love to do
So
that.
would you like to tell them about your course? Because I think you've shown that you've got a lot of ability and insights, and I think this part of the business isn't discussed that often.
It's because it's boring and it's not sexy, and that's why nobody wants to talk about it or address it. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. It's fine.
Okay, so you asked me about pricing. The way to set yourself apart from the competition is to have processes in place and show them to your client. Let them know that you know the things that typically go wrong, but you've got things in place to keep these things from going wrong. They will not push back, and they will give you twice the respect, and that's how you are able to charge more. Because now you're a professional, you're a colleague, you're working shoulder to shoulder with them. It's not boss and worker bee. That's not the way it should be at all.
No, that's right.
So yeah, the WP Project Managers Academy. You can check us out at WPRoadmaps.com/join us. We have a free program, which is the Project Management 101 Roadmap. And then we have the premium program, which gives you a lot more lessons from people outside project management, all the stuff that comes before and all the stuff that comes after, like how to get the leads, how to get the sales, and then how to do the care plans afterwards. And then in the middle is my piece, the project management piece. And we have a certification program where you can get certified. Right now, we have the level 1 certification is done, and you can get certified as a certified WP project manager level 1, and then level 2 is coming shortly. And that one gives some extra perks, like an extra website where we will list you as a project manager, and we will promote that website. So there's some perks that come along with the premium program. But anybody can check out that free program, see if it's right for you. Not every course is right for everybody. So that's why I offer the free program for the basics. And then if you're interested, you can move on to the advanced program, or you could just start out with the advanced program. And right now it's $79 a month, but it might not always be $79. So if you're interested, you probably should sign up now.
That sounds fab, actually. I'll probably look at it myself. It's been a really fantastic chatting with you, Beth. I think we're given some good insights. We've got some more great people we're going to be talking to this afternoon. I've got some great feedback about yesterday. We had a few discussions yesterday, and I've got some fabulous. And it's just been great. We'll see you in probably about 40 minutes, folks, for another chat. See you soon.